Hey there. Yesterday I was talking to a group in our coaching group, and people were dealing with a lot of uncertainty and completely understandable, right? We are living in this environment that is so uncertain. People don't know what's going on. And even if you're feeling a little bit settled in some way, the whole cultural, societal anxiety is there. So the people that I was talking with were just very rattled inside, scared, worried, uncertain of what's going on. And so we talked about how important it is to be able to stay centered and grounded in the middle of it. And that is the hardest thing of all to do because when we're rattled, it's hard to find our way back to our center. Now, here's what I've learned in my long life. And it comes from all the teachings, both psychological teaching, the attachment theory, as well as object relations, all the different attachment psychology perspectives, but also from the ancient wisdom traditions. We have to have a sense of our own beingness. Our parts are going to get activated. We're going to feel terrified, worried, scared, and they're going to crowd in, and they need to know that somebody's there. Somebody is solid, steady, and secure inside to be able to hold and be with, ride the waves of uncertainty to get to the other side, because there always is another side. And people over the years have given me lots of examples about how things go awry and how bad they can get. And that is true. But what you are lucky about is if you have been working on yourself and building a core ground inside, having a sense of direction of where you want to go to instead of getting lost and caught in the dismay of it all, you're going to have a better chance. Because what we have to do is be able to separate out all those parts in the internal family system. We call that separating them out and unburdening those parts. But even more so, we need to have practices that ground us and have us feel solid and steady and secure. Well, what I talk a lot about is grounding in the spine, being able to withdraw our senses away from the external into the internal and moving kind of in back of us, right? Like take a moment now and feel into your spine. Can you feel the solid sense inside? That's what we're wanting, to feel that the spine behind you. If you're sitting, can you feel and roll your back against and feel like there's a presence back there? That's your spine. And that's where we want to move back to so that we can ground and hold us. Now, the spine, as you know, is the place where all the nerves flow down and in through. So we have access there to both our brain and down into our gut, into all the places that can provide some nourishment and ease. So it's so important to land there, breathe, and get the flow of energy moving behind us on our back so that we're less out here activated and terrified. Now, that's especially true if your tendency is to get anxious and overwhelmed and grab at the external world to try to ease. But it's also important if you're used to hibernating, withdrawing, and isolating and retracting inside, right? Now, some of us have two different, we vary between those two, but some of us tend to have one particular style. Maybe it's more anxious, maybe it's more withdrawn, hibernating, isolating. And they're both good at different times. We need to have them be able to reach out to people. But also, if the reaching out is overwhelming to us and to others, like if we can't get security from outside, then we need to learn how to be connected inside. This is especially true with people who've had attachment issues growing up, because we know from Erik Erikson's work that if you don't have if you didn't get trust developed in the very early stages, this is his first stage of the psychosocial development, is trust versus mistrust. So if you didn't get a sense of trust in your early months, before 11 to 18 months, you're going to live with a sense of, I hate to say it, pervasive uncertainty and confusion. And then if the world is uncertain at the same time, it's going to make it more complicated. So it is even more important then to train your body, mind, and heart to trust. And what you can trust always is yourself. You can learn the signals of what's externally trustworthy and what you can trust inside yourself. But that means you have to have access to yourself. So the key things I often say to people are ground in your spine and make that transition from outside to inside and from your head to your brain, from your brain to your heart, because this is where the guidance is going to come from, right? This is where your sense of what's the next step is going to come from. So on my website, I have the 6 sides of the breath, which is breathing inside, grounding in the heart, breathing up, feeling the top of your spine, the top of the breath, the top of the lungs, breathing in, breathing down, feeling into the bottom of the breath. Where does the bottom of the breath land? Feeling that whole expanse, top to bottom of the breath. That's one axis of the breath. Another axis is side to side. Can you feel how your breath can expand out to the left and to the right, and then both sides together? And then front to back, right? So you have those 6 sides of the breath, and there's a free version on my website, so take a look at that. Use it. Let me know how it works for you. And remember to ground inside yourself. If you're feeling anxious and overwhelmed, as somebody yesterday was, life does fall apart sometimes. All kinds of unforeseen circumstances can happen that feel like the rug gets taken out from under us. But the more you stay steady inside yourself, the more you're going to be able to access that inner wisdom that's going to guide you in a direction that's going to help you find your way. And that's what we're looking for, is your way, not somebody else's way, because somebody else's way isn't always going to be right for you. But when you're connected to yourself, to your heart, you're going to be able to hear and feel and sense that wisdom arise, and that says, take this step, turn here, call this person, open that book. Do that one action that's going to lead to another action that's going to lead to another, that's going to be your way through. I know it sounds a little amorphous, but it does work. I have some ideas on how I want to make this even more tangible and practices that we could do. So I'll be rolling that out. But I just wanted to touch in with you today and talk to you about it, because it is so overwhelming at times, and my heart goes out to you because it can be hard. But remember, each breath you take, like just now, I just felt myself take a breath, let it expand just a little bit more, feel the breath take a little more room, then gently exhale it out. Allow a little more breath. That's going to keep bringing you inside. When you're activated and you feel your senses drawn outside, bring them back inside. Notice what's going on inside you instead of what's getting activated outside. Now, when you're really overwhelmingly anxious, that's where you can use the breath to elongate. The research in it is that 5 breaths in, or 5 counts in, 5 counts out, slowing it just back and forth. They call it the Royal Road, and that can help. So I'm glad that's helping, Nick. I'm so glad to hear that. But each time you do it, each time you breathe, each time you connect with yourself, it's going to make a difference. And it does take time, because remember, you're changing your patterns. And think how long you've had this pattern of anxiety or overwhelm or despair, whatever that might be. It's going to take a little while to change it, but the more you practice, the more it makes a difference. All right, my loves, I will talk to you. And just my heart is with you at going through this scary time. But we're going to find a way, each of us, and you'll find a way by listening to your own heart and what's guiding you from inside.